Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar, Implementing Effective Exception Management in Your Supply Chain. My name is Elva Sif Ingólfsdóttir, and I'm a supply chain consultant at AGR Dynamics. My background before joining AGR is from the industry in finance and procurement, and I also hold a master's degree in supply chain management. AGR Dynamics is a supply chain planning and forecasting expert. We're founded in 1998. Offering software and consultancy services, holding offices in Iceland, Denmark, UK, Canada, and France, and serving over 120 customers in 18 countries. Our solution is an add-on to ERP systems. Today, I'd like to talk about management by exception reporting as a principle and showcase our new and exciting MBE standard report package. It is complementary to our newest version of AGR and is applicable to older versions as well. So contact your consultant if you'd like to have them added on to your current version. So management by exception reporting is among the oldest and most widely implemented techniques in business systems. The image in front of you showcases the different production paradigms of our time. It starts with scientific management, where you have mass production and automation. It then develops into system thinking, where mass customization is led by Toyota and lean manufacturing. Today, we're at sense making, where you have mass collaboration and agility through information technology. So in 1911, the father of scientific management, Mr. Taylor, he introduced the exception principle. Is to help managers make decisions based on variation from norms. So when we created the AGR standard report package, this is exactly what we do. We screen your data with a predetermined control limit, the filters. But we really are saying, based on our 20 years of experience of working with customers to manage their supply chains, to say, hey, what is norm and what is a deviation? So when items exceed these control limits, they will appear in an exception report as a deviation. The report serves as a list of items requiring your attention so that you can further diagnose, analyze, and take action, make decisions about what to do. The goal is to keep balance between item availability and the cost of stock. And the wider supply chain management perspective, it becomes more complicated because you have many parties. You have to share information between raw materials, wholesalers, manufacturers, distributors, and stores. So information sharing creates a competitive advantage because the more you know, the smoother the flow of goods become at a lower cost. So the idea is that the more vertically integrated you are, the faster and more efficient you become. In theory, they talk about supply chains competing against supply chains. Now, if you are not vertically integrated, meaning that you do not own the different parties of the supply chain, you don't have this access to information, the real-time information. So, alternative way to get the transparency is to use the managed by exception reporting to say, what is the demand change and how much attention should you apply to it? Because without this information sharing, you're at risk for the bullwhip effect. This is where a small change in customer demand will send a bullwhip effect down the supply chain. This is customer buying a bit more, stores buying even more, retailers placing purchase orders to wholesalers that are not reflecting the demand change at the customers. So this used to be considered unavoidable, cost of doing business. But today, this is a key issue of scientific publications because of the negative implication it has on excess inventory, the shipping cost increase, and even quality problems. So the goal is to stop firefighting. And how can managed by exception help you do that? Well, you could say you have reactive reports. They detect exceptions that have already occurred. where you want to minimize the damage or you want to jump on board a running trend. But then on the other hand, you have proactive reports. Here, you anticipate exceptions with forecasts. You're able to prevent large losses. You're able to take advantage of major opportunities. I'm going to help you do this. We take all your items, your data, we screen them, we signal the deviations in 24 reports. Now, why 24? I'll show you in a minute in the system, but basically you can say that these are overstock reports, stock out, management, and other analysis. But let's check them out in the system. You start with a view of the dashboard. Click on Reports in the blue navigation bar, and the list of all your reports will appear in the one view. The standard report package lists 24 reports. To make it easier, we have made, for the eye, we have put some groupings in. We also, if I click here on columns, have utilized some labels. Now, you can change the name of the labels or the description as you please by clicking on Edit. You can change the visibility to private or public and tailor these on a high level as you please. If we first look at the group, then you'll see that we have grouped it by urgency. We can say on a daily level, you want to look at a certain amount of reports, weekly, monthly, depending on what it is that you want to highlight. We also have analysis and all vendor report in an order schedule group. Another way to look at it is to say, what's the activity? Are you focused on stock out or overstock, lifecycle management, forecast accuracy at any given point? This might also depend on who's working on the reports. So let's look at our stock out report. I'll shortly explain what each report is about, how we filter them, and then I'll open a couple of reports which we can go through in more detail. So first report is urgent order required. So given that you already laid the landscape, you put in your ordering calendar, set the scheduled orders, you still want to make sure you're not missing anything. So this is a report that helps you proactively stay on top and out of a stock out situation. Here we define that the stock you have on hand will last X amount of days according to the forecast. So these days on hand minus the supplier lead time, the supplier delivery time, equals 0. Plus 3 days, we want to give you a buffer. The action would be to replenish if you choose so. Second, review before stock out. Here, the stock on hand has reached a level where you are below the safety stock. In principle, the safety stock is supposed to cover demand variations during the supplier lead time to keep you covered. Move in. Here we have already issued a purchase order. However, it will arrive after a stock out appears. So the action would be to contact your supplier and expedite. Fast demand to forecast this month is on a weekly level. Here you are looking at sales spikes. So we say sales are 3 times higher than the forecasted sales to date in the current month. The next report on a monthly level, it looks similar, recent high demand. However, this is more of a trend where you say last month's sales is 3 times higher than the 12-month average. The weekly one being a bit more urgent, and if you attend to these two, you should minimize the workload appearing in your daily reports. Overstock. Here we start with move out, where you are looking at purchase orders that you have already issued. However, the system signals a deviation where you say the quantity you ordered will introduce an overstock level. So the action here would be to, of course, look at the items, diagnose, and should you choose to take the action, you would contact your supplier, ask him kindly to postpone or cancel the order altogether. Slow demand to forecast. Recent low demand, this is the opposite of what we just looked at the stock out reports. sales being 3 times lower in current month or 3 times lower last month than the 12-month average. The recent negative demand in 303, here we are looking at returns, customer returns at a store level or any level are higher than sales. So this is not 1 or 2 items that the customer is returning. It's drastic and it could indicate a product quality issue, something you might want to take up with your supplier. Overstock items, here we have said that what you have on hand will cover 2 times what you need for the order period. The order period is a mix of 2 things: the order frequency, how often you would like to order, and the supplier lead time. This is of course subject to how you would like to tailor these filters. Days cover on hand above 6 months. They're very descriptive. So 403, minimum order quantity from the supplier introduces 6 months of the forecasted demand. So here you want to look at, if it's a new item, it makes sense. The forecast hasn't picked up with the projected sales. However, if this truly is an item that the forecast is accurate for, you might want to consider changing a supplier. You might want to consider, if you are buying from a manufacturer versus wholesaler or distributor, to say that the quantity you want to order each time should reflect the given stock level you want to maintain. 404 and 405, here we look at items that are not moving. They haven't sold in either 6 months or 12 months. Life cycle management. Here you are looking at phase in, phase out, and declining phase, where in the phase in you want to have a list of items that are new that do not have a forecast. So you want to catch these. And the action would be to either apply a forecast to make sure the distribution takes place to stores, for example, or you want to simply secure the first buy from the supplier to have the item available in your warehouse. Closed items with stock and closed items with open POs. Now, this is phase out. You already closed them. However, you need to do some item master cleansing. Open to closed. Here we are in a declining phase where we suggest items that you should review because they haven't been moving for a given amount of time. So perhaps you'd like to close these. Forecast accuracy. These are very important. Always with a forecast. You will never be absolutely right. The statistical forecasts look at the demand history, and some items by nature will have a regular recurring pattern, pretty predictive. Other items, also by nature, they would be very irregular, infrequent, hard to predict. Now, we highlight for you items that have 400% uncertainty in the forecast versus actual sales. Attend to this report and look at the demand. Correct, for example, sales tops, out of stock situations, and you will get a more accurate forecast, meaning that you will have more accurate order proposals, streamlining the flow of goods. Other analysis, these are, for example, ABC report, where you can list all your items and see the impact they have on your business. Also master data, if you want to take a look at different information columns from your ERP systems where you are missing values and where you are covered. Okay, so let's choose a report to dive into. Urgent order required. Here, before we start, you have a view where you say you have the columns here and the number of items returning are visible here at the bottom. You click on view settings to get the options of either adding columns or clicking them out. You want to have too many, but you want to have enough information on the screen to diagnose, analyze, and make decisions. The filters, by standard, all filters in the standard reports are filtered on location type warehouse. Change this according to your needs. You can even have more than one if that suits your setup. If you change the filters, you can always go click on the Save button, Save As, and do a copy without doing any changes to the original one. Closed equals 0. This simply means that we are looking at open items. Undelivered. So we do not in this report want to look at purchase orders. We have a report for that one. Here, you want to have a singular activity when you diagnose this report, and that would be to replenish, to place an order, should you choose to do so. Forecasted demand, we only want to see items where, yes, you're close to a stock out, but you also have an active demand. Then we have added an advanced filter where we say days until stock out, committed, is less than the supplier lead time plus 3 days. So if you attend to this report regularly, you will proactively avoid stock out. First time you open it, you could expect a lot of items will already be in stock out. So when I work with this report, first thing I do is I click the hamburger button, as I call it, the 3 stripes, and I auto-size all columns to make the view more compact. I then open column filters so that I can choose to say, I want to exclude something, I want to see something greater than, I want to just highlight shortly items with, let's say I want to see items with 0 stock first, or however I'd like to work with the report. When I have the column set in and my view compact, I like to get an overview. So I drag up the location to where it says drag here to set row groups. Drag and drop. This is like pivot function in Excel. Here I get an overview. I say, okay, I have 26 items. I knew that already, but that's also good to have here, especially if you have more locations than one. Stock units. Again, by clicking on the hamburger button and selecting value aggregation, I can choose how I want the information to aggregate. I want to see a sum of stock. I want to see a sum of the forecast. And I would like to see sale value and cost value. Okay, sum and sum. Because on a high level, I would like to see, okay, if I do not buy these 26 items, well, on a 12-month level, this introduces a loss of £5 billion. So these are items I definitely want to have in stock. Now, okay, I have an overview, I see the impact, I want to attend to this report. Now I want to say, what are the suppliers that I need to order from? And who is most important? So I will click on sale value or cost value in descending order. I do that simply by clicking the column header. This shows me a ranked order of the vendors. I also see here in brackets the number of items, so I don't really need these right here. If I just want to say I want to see 4 or 5 columns, then the grouping function will count this already. So when you diagnose and analyze, you want to look at the item card. So you click on this icon up here. You click the item that you want to view, and you will see a chart of information appearing at the bottom. Now, you're looking at, with a white background, sales history and stock history. In the gray, you're looking at the forecast, represented in yellow, and the blue dotted line is the safety stock. The red triangle here indicates a stock out. You can choose the period between days, weeks, or months, simply by clicking this right here, and then the period up or down. Now, I can see already that these are important items. And let's say I have reviewed the entire report and I want to order from all of these vendors. I can place an order simply by clicking all. So I click here to get place an order on all vendors. I click on create order or the shopping cart and press create. I see here that the order creation already started. and I can monitor the progress here up in the execution list. Now, what we recommend is that you use another report called Report to All Vendors to select these vendors into and place a report order from there. The reason we recommend this is that in that way you will include all other items that these suppliers supply to you, because you might have different items tomorrow, next week from the same vendor appearing in this report. So the recommended process to place a replenishment order for items getting close to stock out would be to open up 501 all vendors, open the view settings, find a primary vendor filter. You simply write it or you scroll through. Here I have a lookup, so it will suggest the vendors already in the system. I will simply choose all 15 vendors or a couple, depending on what my diagnose led me to. I will then select all items because I would like to have an order proposal for all the items. Click on the shopping cart, create. I then click on orders. I don't want to save this report. I just want to keep it open for all vendors. So I click on the orders. I say, I'm sure I want to leave this page. Fine. I open my orders, which I have just issued. If I'm happy with the quantity, I will simply click all items and confirm. I now confirm the order and it is transferred to my ERP system to be picked up, sent out to the supplier directly. You'll notice in the previous step, when I was generating the urgent orders, I used a single report and I chose multiple vendors. On the list in front of you, you'll see multiple order proposals because the system automatically creates separate orders for separate vendors. So as I send out my urgent POs, I will review and confirm each order proposal that I generated. Okay, very good. Now let's choose one other report, one or two more. Let's see how much time we have. Let's check out overstock. Again, you have the columns here. You have the filters. The definition here is, again, warehouse and open items. Here we say we want to have a limit or a minimum on the stock value to spend our time looking at, because the purpose of an overstock report would be to say it's expensive. We're looking at the cost of capital. So we're not concerned with the very small items that don't cost us so much money. We have put an advanced filter saying that we don't want to look at items that haven't sold before. We have items in stock that represent over 2 times the demand for the order period. The demand for the order period, again, is 2 things: the supplier lead time and the order frequency. So you will want to change this according to your business needs. So first thing I do again is I want to have an overview. I can see we have 268 items appearing in this report. One thing to note is that you don't want to have thousands of items appearing in a report. You want to have it a manageable workload. So this is a sort of a rule of thumb health indicator. If it's thousands of items, you want to have these more tight, the filter parameters. If you only get 1 or 2, then you might want to loosen up. Say you want to see a wider perspective. Now, if I drag up the location, I will see, okay, we have 2 warehouses that have items falling into the deviation of what I consider not to be a normal stock level. I can see one has 270 million pounds, and the other has about 87. The number of items and the number of stock units. So to diagnose, again, I'll open the item card and I can see in blue the overstock level. The orange here is the historic sale, and I can see this is quite irregular sales pattern. forecast is low, but I can see, hey, the safety stock is quite high by this line here. Now, if you see a high safety stock, you'll want to address your confidence factor. The confidence factor is given for a reason. However, it also, if you have an irregular sales pattern, it will create a higher safety stock. If this would be on closer to the average demand, the safety stock would be lower. So let's say I want to have 80% confidence factor to see how the safety stock drops. Now, according to the forecast, I can see that this is plenty. So I'm not risking the service level, or so it looks, unless this is an item that has very huge impact. If it's medicine, it could be life or death, then you want to keep this very high. You want to say the cost of keeping the safety stock makes sense because I need to catch these deviations. I can't have a stock out. You want to analyze these items one by one. You want to look at why you're buying more than you need. And you want to make sure that you adjust the order frequency, the lead time, the quantity you order each time, so that you order less and you keep less stock. Let's check out one. Oh, and you can always export these to Excel, and then you get all of the columns that you have here, and you can further analyze, diagnose, or send to other systems if you please. Let's take a look at forecast accuracy as the final report to view. The forecast uncertainty here shows you the deviation between sales and forecast. Now we do have some negative values, so they may or may not be important for you to diagnose. Let's say I want to see items that have the highest sale over the last 12 months. I want to start with those. You'll see here, this is a regularly recurring item going up or down. Because it both has lower sales and higher sales without showing a clear trend in either direction, the forecasting module applies an average forecasting. It seems as this will be fine. There's not really an action to do on this item. Here you can see the item has had a stock out for 3 months, resulting in a very low forecast. The low forecast is reflecting the situation that you don't have the item availability. So on this one, you would simply reorder, given that this item is supposed to be in stock. So again, you take the items one by one, you analyze what's going on, and you see if the safety stock is too high, if the forecast is building on enough data. Sometimes you only have 1 or 2 sale points, and the sale points are picking up or going down. So it really is a subjective analysis that you have to apply here. When you work through these reports, you can always use our user manual. If you click here on the information icon, it will take you directly to our user manual. You get the user manual here in a different tab. And let's say you're working on the daily urgent order required. You simply click on it, and you get quite detailed documentation on what it is. So you get an overview of what the report shows, what the goal is. You see what the filters are. You will see the action points, so bullets for the employees. Start the day by this, fast track, use the group by, check out the vendor, the location, run an order. The way of working is quite detailed. So if you have to show it to new staff or just haven't worked on a report in some time, you will always have quite detailed ways of working. So how you group by, how you get an overview, how you sort descending, ascending, if you want to limit the search results, so on and so forth. Last but not least, on the dashboard, you are able to click in the key reports you want to view when you open the system. So let's say I want to have urgent order required, items I want to expedite, sales spikes, And overstock, I click on done. Now, this will be saved to my dashboard. The number here on the right side indicates the amount of items appearing in the report on each day. So you can monitor if you are going up or down or how urgently you need to act to this. Thank you. That was all for me.